on VTV News. Vietnam listed among the world's fastest growing economies. And Vietnam ready for tariff reduction negotiations with the U.S.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi, and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huyen Tan with the top stories. Vietnam's economy showed robust performance in the first quarter of 2025, with a stable macroeconomy, controlled inflation, sustained growth, and balanced economic indicators. GDP growth reached 6.85% year-on-year, exceeding the target set in the government resolution number 01 and marking the fastest pace since 2020. This achievement places Vietnam among the world's fastest-growing economies. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính announced these results at the government's monthly meeting and online conference with local authorities on April 6th. Other economic indicators were also positive, with the Consumer Price Index CPI rising by 3.13% year-on-year, state budget revenue reaching 36.7% of the annual target, and foreign trade increasing by 13.7%. Registered foreign direct investment FDI reached approximately $11 billion, representing a 34.7% increase compared to the same period last year. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính presided over the government's monthly meeting and online conference with local authorities on April 6th. And during the session, he reaffirmed that Vietnam's economic growth target of at least 8% in 2025 remains unchanged. The Prime Minister emphasized the critical importance of maintaining macroeconomic stability and key growth drivers to achieve double-digit growth in the coming years.
At the meeting, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh acknowledged the socio-economic achievements and the collective efforts of the political system, ministries, sectors, localities, and businesses in the face of global challenges. The Prime Minister also pointed out major obstacles facing the economy, including low disbursement of public investment capital, production challenges, and ineffective administrative procedures.
Our overarching goals remain unchanged. The first goal is to maintain internal and external stability and ensure political security and social order. The second goal entails promoting fast, inclusive, and sustainable economic development. And the third goal is to continuously improve people's material and spiritual well-being.
To achieve these goals, the Prime Minister outlined several key tasks and solutions. These include reforming institutions and streamlining the government apparatus. He directed the implementation of Politburo Resolution 57 and Resolution 59 to address current circumstances. Following directives from Party General Secretary To Lam and recent government resolutions, administrative procedures will be simplified. The Prime Minister also emphasized implementing sustainable monetary and fiscal policies to support both citizens and businesses. Regarding the U.S.'s latest reciprocal tariff policy, the Prime Minister called for calm, strategic, and flexible responses to turn challenges into opportunities for Vietnam. He noted recent key measures taken by Vietnam to address the tariff situation. Notably, Party General Secretary To Lam held a phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump to discuss eliminating import tariffs on goods from both countries, aiming to balance bilateral trade and protect national interests. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh also established 2 task forces to conduct direct negotiations with the U.S.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính held phone talks with his Malaysian counterpart Anwar Ibrahim on April 6th at Malaysia's request to discuss bilateral relations and recent regional and international developments. Prime Minister Ibrahim conveyed that Malaysia and other regional countries welcome and highly value the Vietnamese party chief's conversation with President Donald Trump, expressing support for Vietnam's stance on the tariff issue. During the call, Prime Minister Ibrahim, in his capacity as ASEAN chair for 2025, informed Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính about the upcoming ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting on April 10th. The meeting aims to assess the current situation and explore measures to strengthen intra-bloc connectivity and cooperation in response to the U.S. newly announced tariff policy. The leaders focused their discussion on removing obstacles and promoting economic and trade cooperation to achieve fair and sustainable trade that benefits all parties. Vietnam and Uzbekistan have agreed to deepen cooperation across all levels and fields, with a focus on legislative ties, trade, and people-to-people exchange. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn held talks with President of the Senate of Uzbekistan Tanzila Narbayeva in Tashkent on the afternoon of April 5th local time. In the spirit of trust and openness, the two leaders welcomed the establishment of the Vietnam-Uzbekistan and Uzbekistan-Vietnam Friendship Parliamentary Groups and agreed on the importance of deepening bilateral cooperation across all channels, including party, state, legislature, and people-to-people exchange. They underscored the need to boost delegation exchanges at all levels, especially high-level visits, ramp up cooperation between committees, friendship groups, and young and women parliamentarians, and promote parliamentary oversight of the implementation of signed cooperation agreements, particularly those aimed at economic and trade ties. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn attended the opening ceremony of the 150th Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union IPU 150 in Uzbekistan on April 6th. And in his remarks, the Vietnamese top legislator emphasized that development cannot be considered successful if a significant portion of the population remains left behind.
Addressing the ceremony, National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn praised IPU 150's theme of parliamentary action for social development and justice. In the context of global uncertainties, from climate change to inequality and political conflicts, parliaments play a crucial role in supporting and promoting sustainable development. The Vietnamese top legislator emphasized that sustainable development must go hand in hand with progress and social justice, and that all policies must prioritize the people's interests.
Vietnam's National Assembly has been working to build a fair legal and policy system that encourages public participation in the legislative process. Looking ahead, the Vietnamese legislature is actively improving its legal framework, addressing institutional bottlenecks to unlock resources, embracing innovation and digital transformation, and advancing the green economy and energy transition. These efforts aim to promote rapid, robust, and sustainable national development while ensuring social equity.
Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn underscored that the Vietnamese National Assembly remains committed to continuing to work alongside parliaments around the world to achieve shared noble goals.
Legislative institutions must uphold their role as representative bodies of the people by putting the people at the very heart of their policy and making social progress and equity the principles of development. I call on every parliamentarian and every country to act more boldly. Let us build a fairer, more prosperous, and sustainable world for all.
The top legislator concluded by stating the IPU Forum would strengthen coordination and cooperation among member parliaments while building a more robust and effective support network.
Welcome back to VTV News. Now, Vietnam is ready to negotiate with the U.S. to reduce import tariffs to 0% for goods imported from the U.S., increase purchases of goods where the U.S. has competitive advantages and Vietnam has demand, and create more favorable conditions for U.S. companies to invest and do business in the Southeast Asian country. These key messages from Vietnamese Party General Secretary Tô Lâm during his phone conversation with U.S. President Donald Trump on April 4th were highlighted by Deputy Prime Minister Bùi Thanh Sơn during his reception for U.S. Ambassador to Vietnam Mark E. Napper on April 6th. Party General Secretary Tô Lâm also proposed that President Trump postpone imposing reciprocal tariffs on Vietnamese goods during the negotiations between the two countries. The U.S. ambassador thanked Vietnam for its positive approach and understanding of U.S. concerns, noting that the upcoming discussions present an opportunity for both sides to develop solutions that will put bilateral trade relations on a healthy and mutually beneficial path. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính chaired 2 consecutive regular government meetings with ministries and sectors to assess the situation and also discuss both short-term and long-term solutions. Experts suggest Vietnam should continue addressing U.S. concerns through tariff and non-tariff measures.
Nguyễn Đình Lương, who led the negotiating team on the Vietnam-U.S. bilateral trade agreement in 2000, said the agreement required 5 years of thorough preparation before both sides signed. 2 decades later, that experience remains relevant to today's context.
The goal is to reduce the trade deficit, a manageable task for Vietnam, while also preventing other countries from misusing the Made in Vietnam label to export to the U.S.
The Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or VCCI, in AmCham, Hanoi, urged the U.S. Commerce Secretary to suspend reciprocal tariffs to avoid business disruptions. The U.S. business community praised the swift and flexible responses of the Party General Secretary Tô Lâm and Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính, especially Vietnam's readiness to negotiate zero import tariffs on U.S. goods.
The simplest thing to do is reduce duties. I think the approach has been positive. I think it's very smart and very patient for Vietnam not to retaliate, not to fight back, and try to understand what's happening.
Tariffs are just one part of nearly 400-page trade barrier report published by the United States, which identified 13 types of barrier among its trade partners. For Vietnam alone, the report dedicates 8 pages to market access challenges, issues that Vietnam needs to address moving forward.
It's important to promptly and reasonably address U.S. requests on opening investment, energy, aviation, payments, and services like telecom, banking, and finance.
Through the Vietnam-U.S. Trade and Investment Framework Agreement, or TIFA dialogue, the Ministry of Industry and Trade will work with other ministries to maintain close ties with U.S. partners, address bilateral trade issues, and develop cooperation frameworks suited to the current environment.
Now, in other news, the Satisfaction Index of Public Administrative Services, or SEPAS, in 2024 rose by 1.28% compared to the previous year, reaching 83.94%. Over 90% of survey citizens reported no difficulties or complications when interacting with civil servants. Minister of Home Affairs Phạm Thị Thanh Trà announced the results at the government's monthly meeting and conference with localities on April 6th. The SEPA's 2024 results acknowledge the tremendous efforts of local administrations at all levels to enhance service quality for citizens. And as usual, let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.